It has been 177 days since your Portland Trail Blazers played a regular season basketball game. And although tomorrow's basketball game is a preseason one, it's still important. And we're going to get into why as we break down the Portland Trail Blazers' upcoming 4-game preseason slate. You're tuned into Blazers Uprise Live, presented by Sleeper. Eric, happy to join you on a beautiful Tuesday night. How's things going, man?
What's up, Tori? How you doing?
I'm doing well. My voice is still recovering from Saturday, and the excitement of the past 3 days has not helped because I'm the guy to yell, "Let's effing go" at my TV. So, there's been a lot of that the past couple of games, but I am very, very happy right now. How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, you went to the one losing game, huh?
I know, I'm bad luck, I guess, but I don't care, man. I would have taken being up 2-1, so they play tomorrow at 12, which is annoying, so no rain in the forecast, so we'll see what type of mood I'm in on tomorrow night's post-game show. But didn't go live yesterday because my voice was was legitimately that bad, so wanted to give it another day, and it's almost there.
It's raspy.
A little raspy, but still going to do the show. Still happy to be here.
Hopefully it'll be, for your sake, it'll be like this for several more weeks, right?
Yeah, that's the hope. That's the hope, man. Yeah, that is definitely the hope. Shout out to my Mariners fans out there. We're on a ride right now, man. You know what's cool is having a Mariners and a Blazers game on the same day tomorrow, so that's pretty unique.
At the same time.
I know, yeah, exactly. So hopefully we get more of that because that's pretty rare for me. So this is the kind of, I call it the sports triangle where you got MLB, NFL, and NBA all at the same time. There's like 1 month and it's October. Beautiful month. But yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good night. If you were wondering where we were last night, just pushed it to today. I've been talking about doing our preseason predictions, but I forgot that I do that right before the regular season, not right before the preseason. So that'll actually be Monday's stream before the regular season. That will be on October 20th. We'll do that. So for those of you that were looking forward to that, because I talked about doing that on this week's stream, I got a little discombobulated. So we're going to be doing that in a couple of weeks. We'll be predicting the season. I know a lot of you enjoy that. Chat, I know you guys enjoy making your predictions, so I'm looking forward to that stream. But we're going to break down the preseason. We're going to talk about what we're looking for. We're going to talk about maybe some key storylines. We're going to talk about a Chauncey Billups quote from today on what to not read into for this year's preseason. But first, Eric, I always like letting you start us off with something light, whether it's what you were up to this weekend. Chat, feel free to let us know in the live chat, or just a light NBA topic. Whatever's on your mind to warm us up, Eric. You're on the spot. What you got for us?
Well, first off, I'd like to say happy birthday to my mom. 75th birthday today. So
happy birthday.
Her. And
happy
then,
birthday.
Yeah, my weekends are still filled with soccer right now. So that's pretty much all I did. Feel like I did something else. Went to the gym, watched some baseball. Watch some football. That was about it.
Nice. Yeah, it's been a good sports weekend. I took a week off from football this weekend because my fantasy team had like three of the out of I think my top 6 players, 3 were hurt and 3 were on buys. So it was brutal. But went to game 1 of the Mariners game, first playoff game I've ever been to. It turned me into a Kerry Carpenter hater, Eric. I don't know if you know who that is, but I hate Kerry Carpenter.
Yeah.
He's right fielder for the Detroit Tigers. He hit the homer in that game. But there was people heckling him all game. He kept like turning around and like popping his jersey and crap in right field, Which, listen, if I homered and I was being heckled on the road, I would probably do that too. But, as being in the stands, that's really annoying. Why are you even looking back here? I joined in on it because I was second row outfield. So, got a little heckling in. It's definitely not as good as the heckling maybe from the 80s or 90s. What's funny is I went to a regular season game and there was hecklers for, oh God, I forget his name. It was the right fielder for the Texas Rangers, and they got kicked out in the second inning. And they didn't even say anything that bad. They just got reported. So I guess you're not allowed to heckle that much nowadays. I assume it's different in the playoffs, but Yeah, so I don't know. He annoys me. So I am now a Kerry Carpenter hater. He dropped a fly ball he should have caught today. And then next at bat, had a 3-strike strikeout. And I was living large, man. I'm into baseball enough to hate watch players now. So it's not just basketball in that regard.
Nice.
Yeah. So screw Kerry Carpenter.
That's when you know you've arrived as a fan.
Yeah.
And you have haters. We have
Yep.
players you despise.
Yep. I was kind of looking for somebody to despise. I'm not gonna lie, but
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah. Shout out to Mubsy Hoops, 14 Canadian dollar donation, says happy birthday to Eric's mom with the gift emoji. Thank you, Mubsy. Appreciate you, brother. If your mom is in here. Charlene, happy birthday. Nice to see you in here as always. Chat, I got a quiz for chat. What does my voice remind you of? What specific stream does my voice remind you of right now? Let me know in the live chat. I'll give a shout out if you're right, because this is like a specific stream in Blazers Uprise lore from like 3 years ago. So is what this reminds me of. So let me know what stream I'm thinking about in the live chat. That was never a thing. I never puked on stream, and I never will. I will never let myself get to the point where I am doing that on a live stream.
You gagged.
See, yeah, Taylor knows what's up. I love it. Alrighty, so the Blazers tip off preseason tomorrow. You know what's strange? It feels like every year the Blazers are one of the last teams to tip off preseason. I don't know why, but there's been games. We've gotten action across the NBA. Nothing that I've paid enough attention to speak about regarding the rest of the league, but I think I looked at this a month ago when preseason schedules came out, but I think the Blazers are truly one of the last teams. Yeah, you had on Tuesday, so today, you had 2 games. Monday, there was 6 games across the league. The Spurs played the Luong Lions, who had Frank Kaminsky drop 22. And then Sunday, you had a couple games. Saturday, there was 5 games, a couple overseas teams. But there's been basketball, which is always beautiful to see. It's just the Blazers are always the team starting late. I don't know why that is, but the Blazers finally get started tomorrow as they take on the Golden State Warriors. Now, for those of you who are interested in preseason spreads, the Blazers are 8.5-point underdogs. Slept on? You taking the Blazers on that spread line, Eric? Because I know you love to bet on preseason games.
I mean, I'd probably bet on any team with that big of a point spread in preseason because it doesn't really matter the talent level, right? It just depends on who. So I just take the points in any situation in preseason.
And then you get burnt by a Chauncey Billups led team that is like 2-15 against NBA teams under his coaching, or maybe it's 1-15 because wasn't one of them Bjorkgren last year? Yeah. I'm not taking the Blazers in the preseason. I just hope they can be competitive because the preseasons of years past under Chauncey Billups has been very, very rough. But with the energy and training camp that they're talking about and the strides they made last year, we're going into this year's preseason, I think, with a little different mindset, a little different hopes, some things to look for. We're going to dive into it. We've been talking about it. But just looking forward to seeing the team back on the floor tomorrow, and hopefully I'm in a really good mood when that happens tomorrow.
Celebrating a series victory.
Yeah. Wiping my tears of happiness away. Yeah, that'd be great. Great. But as we get started tomorrow, Eric, game 1, first action back on the court. Of course, we expect them to be a little bit messy. We expect there to, it's preseason. It's preseason for a reason. What are your hopes to get out tomorrow? Obviously, it's not just about winning a meaningless game.
Right.
What are you hoping the Blazers get out of their first preseason game tomorrow night as they head to San Francisco to take on the Warriors?
Well, one, I'm going to be looking at the starting lineup, and I am going to think that that's what our starting lineup is going to be this entire season. And I don't care what anyone has to say about it. That'll be key. But no, we'll get into that in a second. But for me, it's obviously want to see the improvements or the changes they made with the offense. I want to see players moving around. I want to see them trying to do some creative stuff or some freelance stuff other than dribble handoffs and just kind of weaving the ball around the top. I want to see more action going towards the hoop, both with cutters and with the players with the ball instead of away from the hoop like we got so frustrated with last year. So my main focus of tomorrow will be just focusing on basically mostly the players off ball on the offense, see if they're moving or just standing there, and just seeing what kind of wrinkles Chauncey's put in or what they're trying to do there on offense.
Yeah, that's going to be the number one story from this preseason, assuming there's no like insane breakout off the bat or something bad. You know, hopefully everybody can stay healthy. Already dealing with too many injuries, too many, with Scoot and Robert Williams being out. But it's the overarching theme of the entire preseason. It's something that you're going to see them work on. It's this is what the preseason's for. We've talked about this a ton, so we don't really have to dive in too deep in terms of what actions to expect or what's going into their motion principles, because we'll have a post-game show tomorrow. Make sure you tune in for that post-game show tomorrow. We will break down what the offense looks like tomorrow night. We'll break down what we saw. We'll break down the changes, and we'll actually have something of substance to talk about. But how that looks and how that's executed and how far away they are from actually running a efficient motion offense is going to be the number one theme, the number one talking point of this preseason. It's going to be the main thing that we focus on. Of course, there's going to be little things to focus on as well, which I want to get into here. But just what does that look like on opening night? Because I'm not sure anybody knows what to expect. And Chauncey, I'm going to talk about some of the quotes by paraphrasing some of his interviews, but basically expect growing pains there. It's a work in progress, and that's kind of what Chauncey's alluded to. It's not going to look great off the bat, but that doesn't mean that it's not good to implement. I feel like in today's day and age where everybody just always has an instant reaction and wants instant results and everything's now, I feel like some people might grow a little impatient of some of the struggles this new offense is going to have to go through. And I don't even have to know what they're trying to do offensively to know that if they're trying to do the right thing, there is going to be bad moments, especially early on. Mm-hmm. I think the smoothest looking offense would be just running the crappy three-man weave that they've always run and kind of passing the ball around the arc and then trying to isolate or run pick and roll. That would be the best looking offense right now. That is the worst offense for them to be working on in the preseason and going into the season with. So it's kind of a catch-22 in that regard. If they're doing things well, it's going to look a little bit ugly.
Yeah, so along those lines, Taylor Packer asks, do we get mad if we see the weave tomorrow? Just shrug it off because preseason. I actually will be mad if they run that stupid weave a lot because it does nothing. The preseason is where you should be starting to – it's one thing to run this offense in practice, in scrimmages in practice, when everyone in the gym knows the offense you're trying to run and trying to improve on. So they're going to jump certain routes or like they're going to expect back cuts in certain situations and stuff. But when you play against a team that you haven't been practicing with, that's the time to show these things. And now you might say, oh, you don't want to give up too much in the preseason. Nah, you can't worry about that. You need to start showing what this offense is trying to do and try to implement into games right now, right away. No holding anything back. I don't want to sit here 20 games in being like, oh, well, maybe Chauncey's just like waiting until later in the season when it's important to implement more of his offense or whatever. Like I'm so sick of hearing that every year, like just like something like magical is going to happen at some point. Like
he just has an ace up his sleeve. He's saving. Yeah.
We're gonna turn the light switch on. Like, we're not good enough to do any of that stuff. We need to start working on it as soon as possible in as many games as possible, and it's got to start from tomorrow night, in my opinion.
They have to build an offensive foundation. You don't just not work on it and save it and save it and save it, and then game 61, oh, we're getting close to the playoffs, time for a playoff run. Let's just break out this whole new offense. Like, sports doesn't work that way. Anybody that expects things to be that way, I'm not trying to be mean, but it just makes me feel like, okay, you just have no idea what you're talking about. That's the nicest way to say it. You just don't really know what you're talking about there. It takes time. It takes effort to implement an offense. And it takes growing pains. You have to learn from your mistakes. And the thing is if they implement this, they want their players to run it instinctually. They don't want their players to be thinking super hard about what they're doing on the court and, should I cut here? Is this where I'm supposed to cut? And not just reading the play, right? A good motion offense is supposed to become instinctual based on the situation at hand. They need repetitions to drill that in. And preseason is the perfect time for repetition. So to echo your sentiments, I would be very pissed off if I see a bunch of three-man weave tomorrow, because that, to me, is wasting a good opportunity to drill what they're trying to implement offensively. And that would be very worrying if that's all we see tomorrow after all this talk about a new offense. It would be the most surprising thing I've ever seen in preseason if we just do that all day tomorrow. They have talked so much about the new things they're trying to do offensively. They're not going to save it, and they're not just going to spam three-man weave. And if they do, oh my goodness, I don't know what to say. Okay, I expect to see some new things tomorrow. You should expect to see some new things tomorrow. We'll break it down tomorrow. What it looks like, I don't know. Chauncey was asked a question recently about, some of the motion and cutting patterns he's trying to implement, and was asked if it matters who's in certain spots. And he had, and as I said, I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember the exact quote, but essentially he stated that, no, it doesn't matter who's in certain spots. If the ball's going a certain way, this player needs to cut. What that implies to me with this motion offense they're putting in is it's going to be dependent upon where the ball is on the floor and where certain players are on the floor, which we had a long conversation on a previous stream. If you were there and you heard me talking about like a lot of off-ball screening, or is it like a lot of cut and fill? That might imply that it's a lot of cut and fill, but it's just one answer. We have no idea. They're bringing in a former assistant coach from the Memphis Grizzlies who, when the ball went to one side of the floor, those players would kind of cut baseline. They kind of cut with the drive. So I'm wondering just how much of that we'll see. I should probably watch the video before the game tomorrow because there was a video breaking it down. And if I find it tomorrow, if I remember, I will tweet it out. So follow me on Twitter. And we'll see how much of that is brought over from Memphis with, I think it's Patrick St. Andrews was the coach over there last year. So we'll see. We'll see, but they better be working on stuff. I'd rather lose tomorrow by 40 and have it look really ugly and actually try and work on stuff than to just spam three-man weave. Okay? Here's the thing. If there's any complaints about tomorrow, there's going to be the crowd that says it's just a preseason game. Why are you complaining about one preseason game? It's just one preseason game. I get it. The only thing I'll really complain about is if they're not trying to drill the right things, because that's what preseason is for. So wasting the opportunity of a preseason game to drill what you're trying to work on, I think is kind of dumb. That's the only area that I'll have issue with tomorrow, is if they're wasting everyone's time not working on trying to get better at what they're talking about implementing. You're muted.
Thanks. For me, if we see just the same basic offense we saw the last 3 years, I'm going to be very down on whether or not there's actually going to be much improvement, because to me that would show that they're really just not ready for a new offense, or it's not being implemented correctly or anything. So to me, it just better not look like it has the last couple of years. It better look like they're trying some massive new improvements.
Yep, absolutely. The other conversation you kind of teased this is the starting lineup. Who's going to start tomorrow? All we've heard is how Shaden Sharp looks great in training camp. And it's not just his shot making. His shot looks a little better this year from the few clips that we've seen. He was FanFest MVP. But also Chauncey's on the record saying his defense has been better in training camp. And that's kind of been the one excuse that a few people have said, oh, the Blazers should start Jeremy Grant over Shaden Sharp because Shaden Sharp isn't good enough defensively, and the Blazers are a defensive team. Right? That's the one argument people have made for Jeremy. It'll be interesting to see who starts tomorrow. Chauncey Billups had a quote on this where he said he'll be rotating the starters during preseason, and he emphasized not to read too much, if anything, into it. Now, people are naturally going to read into it, and I'm not even saying that people shouldn't read into it. But I think you'll have a game where you have Jeremy start and Shaden Sharp come off the bench. I think you'll have a game where Shaden Sharp starts and Jeremy comes off the bench, and then maybe another game. I don't know what other starting lineups they would experiment because it's kind of just those two guys right now. But I think after hearing all this talk about how good Shaden Sharp's playing, if it's preseason game number 1 and he's still not starting, I don't know if that's a great sign for him being the starter on opening night. You can go with Chauncey and not read too much into it, but I wouldn't say that's a good sign. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he gets away with some of the rotations in preseason or the starting lineups in preseason just because after the first game, maybe they like one night will rest Klingon and start Young or something, and then one day you rest Drew and you start the 3 forwards with Sharp as the de facto point guard or something. So I think it's fine during preseason, but him saying that we shouldn't read anything into it almost makes me want to read more into it than I would normally. Because like why is he already like trying to downplay what he's about to do unless he's doing something that's going to be somewhat criticized, like he's trying to downplay it already.
Yeah, and the noise around the team is loud enough that I guarantee you he knows that there's a lot of people out there that want to start Shaden Sharp. I mean, you had Jeremy Grant get asked questions about potentially coming off the bench at media day, him saying that's not something he expects, and then you had a question that we responded to on, I believe it was our last stream, where there's a question asked to Jeremy Grant basically saying, a lot's been made out of your comments about not expecting to come off the bench, but you're fine, right? You're fine, right? Right? And Jeremy's like, yeah, I'm fine. So you have this noise around the team about like, oh, could Jeremy come off the bench? And then you have all this hype around Shaden Sharp. If I really wanted to read into things, I would sit here saying that Chauncey Billups is just saying that because he knows the noise out there, and he knows there's going to be some backlash if he starts Jeremy Grant ahead of Shaden Sharp. Now, that's not necessarily what I believe. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to make out of this situation. This starting lineup situation is kind of just wait and see for me. Will we be able to tell from preseason? I don't know. You can take a good guess, and you might be right based on the starting lineups that they roll out in preseason. But on opening night, could be something different. Depends on how well they play in preseason. Depends on how well certain lineups function together. So I would like to think they're not truly decided on a starting lineup. I would like to think that it's going to be dependent upon the rest of training camp and preseason and practices and everything leading up to October 22nd. But it will be interesting. I think everybody will be interested just to see what the starting lineup looks like tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think this is a non-issue, even if Sharp comes off the bench. If he plays as well as people are saying he's playing in practice right now. So I just think it'll be obvious he needs to be the starter. If he struggles, maybe that gives Chauncey an excuse to bring him off the bench. But yeah, I think we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a chat poll. Who do you think Chauncey will start tomorrow? Sharp, Grant, or both, or neither? I won't do neither as an option. That's not a realistic option. But there you go. There's a chat poll. I'm curious to see what you guys think is going to happen tomorrow night.
He'll start both in the second half.
Yeah, because Drew's not going to play. This is another one of the things that I'm interested in, Eric. I'm not sure preseason is going to be the greatest test for this, but lineups without Drew on the floor. The thing is, in preseason, you could see like Blake Wesley play when Drew's not on the floor, and he could be the point guard. But opening night, when Drew's not on the floor, I don't think he'll be in the rotation. So we might not get an indication of what the non-point guard lineups look like from preseason. But if there is a lineup with like Sharp and Denny as kind of co-playmakers with off-ball players around them, a big, and it's a non-traditional point guard type of lineup, I will be interested in seeing how those lineups look.
Speaking of Blake Wesley, he's the latest Blazer that's getting rave reviews by people. Tamani compared his defensive intensity in practice to his defense, saying he was picking up guys 94 feet and really getting after people. Drew said he was all over him all day today in practice and has been a pest on defense. So yeah, he's the latest guy that the Blazers seem to be somewhat high on, and we haven't really talked about him much as just a late signing to fill out the roster. But he might, with Scoot's injury, he might be one of the guys that gets an opportunity to play a little bit, especially if he's working really hard on defense.
You know what this feels like? This feels like Dennis Smith Jr. / Chris Dunn all over again,
Yeah.
Where they're going to get hyped because they're really good defenders. But the problem is, if he get knocked down threes, he doesn't really have a place on the floor on this team. They have more than enough defense. That's their number one thing. So you can sit here and say he fits the identity, which he does, picking up 94 feet, defending like Damani, playing with a bunch of energy. Those are all great traits, and it all fits the Blazers' identity. But at a certain point, you need to balance out the other areas, and primarily behind the three-point line. And he's somebody that just has not been a good three-point shooter in the league, unfortunately. It's the same thing with Chris Murray. Both those guys can defend, but you got a bunch of other better players that can also defend. At some point, it becomes who can consistently knock down a three at a high level. Who can run off a screen and knock down a three on the move? Who can shoot 38, 39% from three? Do we have any of those players on our roster that is going to play this season? Hopefully Shaedon Sharp shoots that well. Hopefully Scoot can can come off a curl and knock down a three when he's healthy. But it's not really Tamani's game. It's not even really Denny's game to come off a screen, catch and shoot on the move, a 3-point shot. It's definitely not Sharp's game yet because he struggles to just make normal threes at a high enough percentage. So they don't really have anybody to fill that role. And maybe that does lead to Blake Wesley getting minutes. But it's just hard to see, unless there's substantial injuries to this team, him actually playing a factor in the regular season. Ultimately, they're going to need some shooting. They're hoping that their regular rotation guys are collectively good enough where they can be a solid three-point shooting team, and you have a bunch of guys that teams can't just leave wide open. Blake Wesley and Chris Murray, I'll throw them in that conversation unless one of these guys has a huge leap as a shooter. They're guys that you can leave wide open, and that's going to create problems for whatever new offense they're trying to implement if you can just leave these guys on the perimeter and clog the paint a little bit more. And now all these cuts that they're talking about, now you're cutting into traffic a lot more.
Yeah, but this ties into um, Chauncey's other comment today that in the past he's played a 9-man rotation, and he said this year he wants to play up to 11 people because of the way they're going to play, which assuming that means pressure on defense or picking up players up the court and then also pushing the tempo on offense. So faster pace, more pressure on defense, exerting more energy means more subs. But Troy, I look at this roster and like you just mentioned, I don't see 11 guys that should be playing. Like maybe when Scoot gets back, and if one person steps up, they could be the 11th guy. But I really don't think there's 11 rotation players on this roster unless someone just takes a major jump, like you mentioned.
Well, and when Scoot gets back, you don't have enough minutes to get to 11 guys.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to play Scoot 20 minutes a game and Sharp 24 minutes a game because you want these guys to play so freaking hard they can't play more than that. Guess what? Most good NBA players can play hard for 33 to 35 minutes, right? Like, this is maybe my worry with Chauncey this year. And maybe it could work out, but I feel like at a certain point, you can't really do much more defensively in terms of pressure. And if you're so reliant upon, we're going to play an 11-man lineup because we're going to press 94 feet the entire game and we're going to consistently press trap to the point where we completely wear other teams down, we force the most turnovers in the league, or whatever their plan is. Teams game plan for that, and you're talking about NBA players, and they find ways around that. And if your whole defensive identity is too much into the pressure of it, where you're justifying playing good players less minutes for guys that probably shouldn't be in your rotation because you like the idea of an 11-man lineup that just blitzes the entire game, that can backfire. And in no world, once Scoot's back, in no world should they be running even a 10-man lineup, in my opinion. They don't have enough minutes. It would literally make more sense to run an 8-man rotation when Scoot's back, where you have 3 guards that play, Drew, Sharp, Scoot, 3 forwards that play, Tamani, Denny, Jeremy, and then 2 centers that play. Donovan and Robert Williams if he's healthy, or Donovan and Young Hansen, and maybe if you want to play all 3 of those centers, you stretch it to a 9-man rotation, and you get, Kling in 28 minutes, maybe Robert Williams 12 and Young Hansen 8, right? I just don't really see the minutes. If you go down and break down the minutes, on average, how many minutes should Drew plus Sharp plus Scoot be playing? 32 apiece? There's no more guard minutes left. If you think they should all be playing 28 minutes apiece, then okay, great. You got 12 minutes now to give to Matisse Thybulle or Blake Wesley or whoever the hell you want to. But I don't like the idea of like Drew, Scoot, and Sharp only playing 28 minutes a game. Especially if Sharp's ready to break out into a star. I don't like the idea of Denny playing 28 minutes a game if you're trying to do the same thing and play 4 forwards. At some point, it becomes, all right, well, we're sacrificing minutes from Denny Avdia to give them to Chris Murray, who shoots 25% from 3, just so we could try super hard to pressure all the time to a point where it's almost becoming a little bit of a gimmick, and teams are going to prepare even more for it if you do it for an entire game. There's a reason why NBA teams don't really do that. You see that in college, not really in the NBA. So I don't really like the idea of potentially sacrificing Scoot or Sharp minutes for a Blake Wesley or sacrificing Denny minutes for a Chris Murray just to try and do that. The reward is not greater than the reward of playing Denny Avdia or Shaedon Sharp more minutes.
Yeah. I mean, the exception is like if one of these players earns minutes and is playing well, then you let them play some,
What
I
would
guess.
that realistically even look like, though?
I mean, maybe we know Blake Wesley shot 38% post All-Star break or something last year from three. I mean, maybe between that, maybe his shooting is real, and then you add in his defensive presence. Maybe you play Sharp, 12 minutes at the three and play Jeremy and Tamani and Denny, maybe, a few less minutes or something. I don't know. Just figure out a way to get him a few minutes at least.
The problem is sliding Sharp up to the three for those 12 minutes a game makes it really hard to insert another guy at the forward spot into the rotation to make an 11-man rotation because you're already taking 12 forward minutes and giving them to Sharp. So now you have even less minutes for Grant, Denny, Tamani. How are you going to add Chris Murray to the equation? It's really hard to get.
Thibel's going to play too.
Yeah, but my point is, it's impossible. It's impossible to get the rotation to 11 players a game when healthy, and even without Scoot, it's impossible to get the rotation to 11 players a game while playing the guys that should be playing enough minutes. The math just does not work out. So I don't think that's what they'll do. Chauncey said he would like to. Sure, yeah, hypothetically, theoretically, yeah, it'd be great to have such great pressure that you can play 11 guys and win a bunch of games like that, but that's not really realistic.
Yeah. Elizabeth Allen was saying that OKC played 12 guys or whatever last year. But you also have to remember that, especially the Thunder, they blew out a lot of teams.
They could afford to. They won how many games?
What was their rotation like in the playoffs when it mattered?
Yeah.
I don't think we can afford to really do what they do and play. Giannis famously doesn't play a ton of minutes a lot of seasons. There's some seasons where, especially under Budenholzer, where they were always complaining that he should play more. He was around 30 to 32 minutes and stuff, and so that's one way to do it if you're winning a lot of games and kind of not really resting players, but trying to manage their minutes a little bit. But I don't think when you're expecting to fight for a playoff spot, you can really afford to really take a lot of those chances to where you're using developmental minutes instead of actual players that deserve it.
Yeah. Well, I have a question. On opening night last year, how many players did the Thunder play more than a single minute, which the minute was in garbage time? The answer's 10.
I guess 10, yeah.
One of those players only played 7 minutes.
Yeah.
The thing is, they have their big three, and then they have a ton of role players that can kind of play in between. For me, when the Blazers are healthy, I want Sharp, I want Scoot, I want Denny, I want Tamani, all to get more than 30 minutes a game. Whereas the Thunder is they're fine playing Lou Dort 25 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. The Blazers are not good enough to be fine with playing Tamani Kamara 24 minutes in a game. They need him out there as much as possible. And playing him 25 minutes to play Chris Murray 12 minutes is not an equation to help them win basketball games like it was for the Thunder. So anyway.
Yeah, the only way I could see an 11-man rotation, you'd have to... I mean, they did kind of play, how they played Banton last year, even though we're... So he's an extra guard, and then they played Chris Murray a little bit at forward, or Thibault or something at forward.
Yeah, there was games where Banton would play more than Scoot, even though Scoot was heavily outplaying him. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And then you have the three centers all play a little bit when they're healthy. and no one's really playing heavy minutes there, I guess. Um, or you just get Robbo into like 8 to 10 minutes a game just to have him exercise or something. I don't know. But like, it really doesn't make sense. I don't like planning on it. 10 is plenty. That's two at every position. Um, yeah, I don't like more than that.
The Blazers just are built in a way to not play 11 as well. Like if you're eighth, let's say if you're 7th through 11th man are even, I understand it more. But when you have clear cut 3 guards that should be playing a ton of minutes and then a legitimate drop off, 3 forwards and then a legitimate drop off, and then 2 to 3 bigs, like the bigs kind of I view separately there. It doesn't make sense to play 4 guards if you have Scoot, Sharp, Drew Holiday all fighting for minutes there that all should be playing 30 to 32 minutes in a basketball game. And that's just kind of the problem with the construction. Now, if you had Drew and Sharp, and then instead of Scoot, you had somebody that's like, oh, he's like a 15 to 20 minutes per game guy, then you can fit in a 4th guy there. And the Blazers aren't really constructed that way. They are paying Drew Holiday obscene money, in their future backcourt of the future is the players they drafted 3rd and 7th overall in back-to-back years that have all this upside. So it's not something I think we should see. I don't think preseason is going to be indicative of how many players the Blazers are going to play on opening night, okay? To tie this back into the conversation at hand with preseason, I don't think it's going to be indicative of what you're going to see opening night. They're going to play more guys in the preseason naturally. You're going to get some Ryan Rupert minutes. You're going to get some Blake Wesley minutes, etc. Drew Holiday isn't going to play in the second half, supposedly, for this first preseason game. So you're going to see some different lineups. That's just the nature of the beast. In preseason, there's only 4 preseason games, so I mean, how much are you going to really read into? Normally, every year, the Blazers have a preseason game that's kind of like a true dress rehearsal where they'll play the starters and they'll play kind of a normal rotation, but you're not really going to be able to tell in terms of how many players they're going to play. You might not even be able to tell in terms of the starting lineup. If we get 3 games where Grant starts and 1 more Sharp starts, then I'm inclined to think Grant's going to start. If it's the opposite, then I'm inclined to think Sharp's going to start. But we'll see how they rotate things because that's supposedly what they're going to do.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth Allen says it's 11 to 12 man over the course of the season on average. That's acceptable, but not a forced 11 man game to game. But that's saying like 12 people gets rotation minutes over the course of a season with like injuries and things like that. That's completely different than what Chauncey's talking about. He's basically saying we're going to run, so people aren't going to play as many minutes, and we're going to play 11 guys.
Yeah, and when you say 11-man rotation, you're talking about 11 players rotating in and out for each other. So that implies within the same game. Mm-hmm. I think he'll run a 10-man rotation opening night. I think you'll see at the center position, I think you'll see Klingen and Young, and then you'll see Drew, Sharp, Denny, Tamani, Grant. 4 of those 5 will start. Okay, so we're at 7. Maybe you won't see 10 because then what? Thibel's 8. Thibel will play opening night. He'll kind of get some of the scoop minutes. Who would be the next guy to play in your opinion, Eric? Chris Murray, probably. I think you'll see Chris Murray as kind of the 9th man opening night. And then Rupert got opening night minutes last year, so maybe Rupert could get spot minutes opening night. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. I think maybe they'll find a way to sprinkle in a 10th man there.
Yeah, I think the logical thing would just be Blake Wesley since Scoot's out. Just maybe you don't play. Maybe they're just kind of limiting Drew's. I think they don't want that number to be in the mid-30s in terms of like his average minutes per game. So
Blake Wesley's just not really a point guard.
Yeah. I know. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. And then Chris Murray, they've always spoke highly of him, but I don't know.
So
is Thibault the 10th one if he plays? Like, I don't know. I figure if
Yeah.
he's healthy, he's playing. But
I don't think Chris Murray and Blake Wesley can be your 9th and 10th man on opening night. I don't think they can. You're telling me in some lineups you're going to have a guard that shot 29% from three last year and a forward that shot, 24% from three and like 45% from the free throw line last year with a center. Like, it's not like Klingon or Young are going to be true stretch fives this year. So basically, you're playing lineups where you have three unreliable to straight up bad 3-point shooters, more likely than not, in an motion offense. That's how you're going to get some ugly, ugly offensive stretches, right? Like, you can't play Blake Wesley and Chris Murray together. Neither one of them are good enough shooters. Unless one of them takes a massive leap as a shooter, then that's a different conversation. But based on their shooting so far in their career up to this point, Repair's a better option just because he's a more capable 3-point shooter than either of them. And he's not somebody that lights the world on fire from three, but he's more capable. But this is just kind of the problem they're going to run into with the roster construction, I think, is just it would be nice for that 10th man to be a shooter. To complement Chris Murray being the 9th man on opening night, right? So Chauncey doesn't really have options for like different types of guys. It's just everybody fits the identity, great, but you need somebody that can space the floor.
Yep, but that's one of the things that wasn't addressed this summer outside of when Dame comes back next year, but that's not going to help us this year.
Yeah. Like your 7th through 10th man is going to be Young, Thibault, Chris Murray, Blake Wesley, the shooting there, man. Young might be the best shooter. Well, Thibault's shot decently, but you don't want Thibault to be the best shooter off the bench. And then you're bringing Sharp off the bench, who shot 31% last year. Is Thibault really your best bench shooter? It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. So
hopefully it's Grant.
Yeah, hopefully it's Grant. This is also why I like Grant off the bench.
Yep.
We got the first, I just saw this. I was just scrolling Twitter. We got the first NBA on Peacock scoreboard. Eric, have you seen this?
Mm-mm.
Let me save the image. I'll put it on the stream. Actually, wait, no, I can just do this. Here. That's the scoreboard for Peacock, Eric.
Interesting.
I hate it.
You hate it?
I hate it. Why are the logos in a circle? It's weird. It's weird. I don't like it. I am very critical graphic design wise. I'm not a fan. I don't like the logo in the circle. It looks so bad. Oh God, looks good. Kinda retro. Looks like a scoreboard. I'm glad it looks like a scoreboard. It looks like college. Is it just me or could it be much worse? I mean, anything could be much worse. Too much noise. I agree, Connor. I think it's too much noise. The NBA or sports scoreboards on broadcasts have been getting worse. In the NFL, it's the same thing. Like, it felt like they peaked like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and it's just been downhill.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I'd like to see it with, like, the game into hundreds to see what, like, 3 digits look like there, but...
Yeah. Like, the white background for Cleveland, though, is just kind of ugly. I don't like the logos in the circles. Anyway, this has been Tori's graphic design critique segment. Let me know what you think of the scoreboard. We can grade it. YouTube made some updates to live streaming, but still no 5 chat pool options. So I'd probably give it a D, but I'll do A, B, C, and then D or an F. You guys can vote in the chat poll. Grade the scoreboard. The horns are cut off, yeah. All right, there's the poll. You'd give it a what now? You heard me, Connor. You heard me. Anyway, what else are you looking for in preseason, Eric? What else do you think we'll see? What else is like a big storyline or something important for you to see?
There's going to be a storyline all season with him being a rookie and him, being Asian and having all the press that have, like, hearing new people talk in all these training camp interviews and things like that. So I want to see how Young plays, and really excited to see him play in an actual NBA game and see if he can hold his own.
What are some of the biggest things to see out of him this preseason?
Want to see him boxing out and controlling the rebounds on the defensive end. That was something he kind of struggled with in Summer League. And I think with Chauncey saying that we need to be able to finish possessions with a defensive rebound, especially if our defense is really solid for the shot clock. We can't have our massive center being bullied around on rebounds and stuff like that. So I want to see him, at least boxing out so other people can get rebounds, or controlling the boards himself using his size a little better than he was in the Summer League games. And then also just seeing if he's improved at all. It's going to take some time for this, but just not getting foul baited. He got foul baited a lot in Summer League, fell for a lot of pump fakes and crafty veteran moves and things like that. Things he'll have to learn to avoid. So those are the two main improvement areas I think we need to see from him. But he's a really fun offensive player. So of course, I'm excited to see if we utilize his passing or his, because like in Summer League, we had a ton of, it was like almost the whole game for a few of those games where he did nothing but get the ball in the high post area. So I want to see if we try to run some of the offense through him at the top, even though he's like our 9th or 10th man right now. But yeah, I'd like to see just how we incorporate him into the offense.
Yeah, like, is he going to be a cog in the motion offense that's flowing, where he might be in the corner and the ball goes a certain way and then he's the one cutting? Is it like truly a 5-out motion system with him in the game? I expect it not to be like that with Klingon. Klingon should be in the dunker spot, setting screens, rolling, etc. But I think with Young, some of the intrigue is just the perimeter skill set. So how exactly is that utilized within whatever they're trying to do offensively? Because I don't think, from the sounds of it, it's going to be like, oh, you just give him the ball and then run everything off of him and he stands at the top of the arc with the ball. Like, they kind of want to have everything move. So maybe they will run things like that. That's something to look for, though, in the preseason. I agree with your sentiments about rebounding. That's something that he'll have to do better than he's done in the past. And even Summer League, he got pushed around on too many boards. He has to control the defensive glass. Since we're on the topic of centers, I think Klingon is going to be interesting to see his mobility and conditioning. That's the number one thing that I'm looking for tomorrow night. Just how good of shape is he in? We're going to get our first taste of that during the game tomorrow. And then, touch around the rim, like how does a shot look, that sort of thing. I just don't want to see like the wild misses around the rim that we saw last year from him. So hopefully we don't see that in the preseason. I think if he's kind of more controlled around the rim, and even if he's missing shots, as long as they're kind of more controlled and less just kind of flipping the ball up at the rim, that would be a good sign from Klingon. Other players you're looking for key things for?
Um, I mean, I want to see chart. I mean, obviously, small sample size, 4 games preseason, so I'm not going to read too much into 3-point shooting for any of the players, good or bad. But I just want to see how he looks this year, if he's seemingly ready to be unstoppable and break out into our go-to player or not, especially with Scoot down for a while. I think all eyes will be on him to see if he is the guy who does that. Um, Tamani and Denny, I'm like Klingon even too. I'm pretty much. I mean, there's nothing really they're gonna do that's gonna be like, oh my goodness, unless Klingon showing some like crazy offensive new moves or something. But short of that, like I think all those guys are pretty steady.
I would not. Well, hold on. I think Tamani. I feel like he
Yeah,
might be like some of the off the dribble stuff. I think would be the kind of one area where maybe he can wow me
sure.
in preseason, because there's been some talk about that, and he's kind of learning how to be a perimeter player because he was a kind of a big grown up. So if he comes out and he's running a little more pick and roll and making some of these reads in the motion offense and hitting cutters with passes, and that part of his game looks like it's ready to take another step, then I think that would be very intriguing to see in preseason. Denny, I kind of agree. Like, he could go off for 35 in preseason and be like, okay, he looks like he did last March. That's great. Hopefully he can play like last March and be a star. But that wouldn't even be like shocking or really wow me a whole lot. I kind of expect Denny to look really good, hopefully. Well, I'll say this about Denny. The last 2 seasons he started slow. So seeing him have some of those performances in the preseason might be a good thing and a good sign for him starting the season like he ended last season, because I would say that might be a worry with Denny, especially in more of an emotional offense where maybe he has the ball a little bit less than he did at the end of last season. Hopefully he can start the season fast. So I'd like to see him have good preseason performances for that reason. Muted.
Absolutely. And I do agree about Tamani. I feel like he's going to have sort of a natural progression with that this year. But it would be nice to see him be able to break down more off the dribble. His finishing was pretty bad at times last year, so if he can become a little better finisher. But that seems more of like into the season type of thing. I don't know how much you're going to see in 4 games from that. And yeah, I mean, Drew's a veteran, in his 30s. I don't really expect him to show anything too differently. The only thing would be just in general, just how we utilize all these defensive pieces. It'd be cool to see some maybe new defensive schemes, not running drop all the time, and not that basic zone that we run sometimes in years past. Like, if we're doing some more things now that we have lots of different options for pressuring the ball outside of just Tamani, like, it'd be cool to see us utilize that. But I'm not going to get my hopes up too much on that. And yeah, I mean, there's not much else. I mean, you could see Repair, Chris Murray, Blake Wesley getting some minutes and maybe performing well, but I'm not going to get too high or too low with either of those guys until they prove it in the regular season.
I mean, yeah, Chris Murray makes some threes, makes some free throws. It's the only thing I care to see about the preseason is seeing Chris Murray make some threes and make some free throws. Repair, I mean, we saw him in Summer League. I don't really think he's going to leave much of an impact on me watching him this preseason. I think if Caleb Love gets hot, he might look impressive, and then we can begin all those conversations again, and maybe he should play with Scoot out, right? Just because of 1 or 2 hot preseason shooting games, but I would like to see him do a better job of running an actual offense than I've ever seen him do in college or in Summer League, where he had some games where he chucked a lot of shots. He had a couple nice flashes of passing here and there in Summer League, but he's not really a point guard to me. Just like Blake Wesley really isn't a point guard to me. Without Drew, there's really not a point guard. And Drew's a guy that can play the two, so it's just kind of a interesting roster construction. It's interesting build. I bet you they view Caleb Love as a point guard, but he's a scorer. He's not somebody that's well-versed in running an offense, making nice passes, making his teammates better. So, but watching him in preseason, I guess, will be a thing just because it's another rookie. Thibault is like the least interesting player in preseason. I really couldn't care less. I echo everything you said earlier about Sharp. Hopefully he has some good offensive performances. The shot will be interesting to see on TV, just how much different it looks, because it's one thing to see it in practice, but it's another thing to see it on TV, because that's where we're used to seeing him shoot, is watching on TV. So we'll compare that. And Drew, I want to see him moving well. At his age, I hope that he's moving well. I hope that he doesn't look step slow or anything like that. Outside of that, that's pretty much everything for the players. The rest is all schematical stuff. That's the number one thing for preseason, is just seeing what the Blazers are trying to do schematically, as well as hoping new guys look good, hoping somebody like Hansen Young looks good. So we'll break that all down tomorrow.
Yep. And for those that didn't see, Delano Banton did sign with the Dallas Mavericks today. We'll see how
they want the players that I don't want on our team, because Thibault, they try to give that offer. And I don't mind Thibault on the team. I just the gambling defensively sometimes drives me nuts. But Thibault's fine. It's like a 10th, 11th man. Plays his role, is not going to be a headache. Good dude. So like him for those reasons. Banton, I was happy to see gone. All the hype around Banton. I mean, I heard fans calling him untouchable and a part of the core and better than Scoot and all sorts of wild stuff last year. And it's funny how the Blazers, who were able to see him up close for a year and a half, were like, no, we do not care. We don't have another point guard on the roster outside of Scoot and Drew, so one of those two gets hurt. We don't know what we're doing at point guard, but we do not want Delano Banton back. We're going to let him walk. And he goes unsigned until now. So, I mean, congrats to him latching on with Dallas, but I think his role there is going to be exactly like what it was in Boston, where he just doesn't play.
Yeah. And for the record, you're going to see this all over the NBA, but with the Blazers in particular, since we're covering them. So all these players, they're signing and then waiving, and it looks like we're cutting them. It's this is part of the process when you have a G League team of retaining rights to players. I don't know why it's set up this way, but if you sign someone and then cut them and then they clear waivers, you basically get their rights to the G League team. So that's all that's happening. None of these guys are going to make the roster. We already have our 15 guys, and short of some crazy trade happening in the next 2 weeks, none of these training camp or Exhibit 10 guys, like we had to sign Sean Padula today to a 10-day contract. Those are strictly to get more players on the G League team.
You know what I think is funny, though? Is Dallas saying, you know what, we need a 6'7" point guard. I think that's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. At least this one's skinny. At least this one is not overweight, which is funny because did you see AD looks a little overweight right now and Luka looks like he's in great shape? I thought that was super ironic. So
yeah,
it's funny, but
yeah, if they're worried about his weight. Yeah, I get. We do still, as Elizabeth Allen points out, we do still have a two-way. So if there is someone they don't like Cook, we didn't cut technically yet. So maybe they're thinking of giving him the two-way spot. Also, the Blazers have done this. The first time we signed Abu Baji, it was like we do sign some people like right before the season starts. Sometimes I think we did the same with Reese, if I'm not mistaken, too. So like sometimes you'll look at other teams that maybe need to cut players and stuff like that. Maybe you're eyeing someone that's obviously not going to make another roster, but that you like. So yeah, they do still have that open two-way spot. So expect one of the training camp guys or them to look to fill that elsewhere. I don't really see any point in not filling that spot.
Yeah, Marjan Beauchamp, I think, is a guy to watch for that. He kind of fits the Blazers' MO, defensive-minded guy. Had some nice moments as a rookie in Milwaukee, but then fell off. So we'll see if he can revive his career in Portland. I think he'll be playing a lot with the Remix this year. The Remix have a interesting team this year, I think. Some of the names that I've seen, Marjan being the number one guy, but even a guy like Sean Padula, who I know didn't look good in Summer League. He was an electric player in college. I think he could be one of those kind of G League scoring guards that's really fun to watch. So they also, Andrew Carr, who is also on Exhibit 10, they have there. I'm not a big fan of him, but we'll try and pay a little bit more attention to the G League this year.
Yeah, Padula and Carr did not look like NBA players in Summer League, in my opinion.
Padula looked like a G League player that was out of his element playing against some NBA players, but he looked so much worse than he did at Ole Miss, though.
Mm.
Like, he just looked uncomfortable because he was a difficult shot maker at Ole Miss, and then those same shots, I feel like he was almost getting easier shots in Summer League and couldn't buy a bucket. It's super strange sometimes to see players go from making all these difficult shots in college to playing in Summer League, getting cleaner looks, and becoming completely broke. And it makes me wonder, like, how much of it is just, like, mentally trying to prove yourself at the NBA level so you can get maybe a two-way contract. There's a lot on the line. Players you haven't played with before, like, a lot changes. And how much of that is mental for guys that have those struggles. And I feel like Sean Padula was that guy that just looked awful.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Anyway. We'll read chat and answer questions for the next 15 minutes or so, and then we'll end the stream.
There was something I did want to bring up real quick. So there is a report. I don't know if it was Jake Fisher or someone else who brought it up, but apparently the Blazers' initial contract extension offer to Shaedon Sharpe was for 4 years, $90 million.
I thought I read 5 years, $90 million.
I thought it was $490 the first offer, but
okay, let me look.
Maybe it was 5. I know I saw a bunch of people saying maybe 590 would sound a lot better or something, but
okay, yeah. It was 4 years, $90 million. 4 years, $90 million. That's $18 million a year. I mean, that'd be a steal.
I don't think Sharpe signed that though either.
No, Sharpe wants $20 million plus, which he should. And especially in a year like this is a prove-it year. I don't think he's going to play bad enough to not be able to command that contract. I feel like that's kind of a baseline for him. And this year he could only outplay that.
Yeah.
So that's why he's not going to sign that. Mm-hmm. I think they have to offer him at least $20 million a year. Now, if you look at the contract that like Quentin Grimes signed and Cam Thomas signed in restricted free agency, then maybe I might be wrong in that regard, and that's not a baseline, and things can get worse for him if he hits restricted free agency, which has killed some values across the league. But I don't think the Blazers let him hit restricted free agency. I think they'll figure something out. I just wouldn't expect it before the end of the season.
490 is 22.5, not 18. But...
Oh, it's 22.5. Damn, he turned that down. Okay. Bad math. Normally I'm good at mental math too, but not today, I guess. 4 years, 90. Yes, that's $22.5 million because 480 is $20 million.
Yeah, I wonder if we offered him the 4,100.
590. 590 is 18 million.
Yeah, you're still
Yeah.
thinking five. Yeah.
Yeah.
But 4,100 would be the rookie extension that Anthony got. Um, maybe he feels like he deserves similar to that. Um, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder if he would like how much you'd have to go to get him to sign right now versus taking a chance at breaking out. And so I do think if he is truly dominating practices and stuff, like I wouldn't mind seemingly kind of overpaying him a little bit now to make it so we're not paying him like a max next year.
Yeah. I think 20 million is a good baseline. If he doesn't play better this year, I think 20 million is fine. If he doesn't play better this year, I think you can start having conversations about like, is he truly a winning player? And maybe even 20 million would be too much. I feel like the price and the offer of 490 bakes in some of the upside. What does that upside look like at the end of the year? Does he look like a player that's on his way to stardom, or does he look like one of those players that's always going to be a tantalizing athlete with some bright flashes, but seems like a guy that's never going to put it all together? I think we're going to have more of an answer at the end of the season as to which guy Shaden Sharp is, and that's going to determine his contract. I feel like $22 million a year is kind of playing that in the middle. I feel like, $18 million a year a little low. I feel like $22.5 million per year is kind of playing that in the middle, and he might earn $30 million a year, $32 million a year, whatever, or he might have the type of season where he's still not efficient, still not shooting threes well, and still struggling defensively, and it's just like, okay, does this dude actually help you consistently win basketball games? And if you have to ask that question, you probably shouldn't be paying that guy $22 million. I think he will take a step this year and earn a $25 million contract. And that's why he declined.
Yeah. I don't think it's like a horrible low. It's not a low ball offer in my opinion, but I I don't get the point of offering it to him because I don't think he's accepting that.
Yeah.
490. So
I mean, we just saw Cam Thomas. How many points per game did he average this year? Cam Thomas this year averaged 24 points per game, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and accepted the qualifying offer.
yeah, but he was both him and Grimes. I mean, Grimes didn't actually get a very good offer.
Yeah.
I think it was like less than 15 a year, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. But we know both of those guys said they wanted like 30 plus million. And I think that was part of the equation is they weren't willing to negotiate anything less than what they thought they were worth. And so, yeah, what Gregory asked what Kaminga got. Was it 25 a year? But it was they can get out of it after 1 year or something.
Yeah. Basically, it's the type of contract to try and trade him and give him some short-term flexibility.
So if
go ahead.
Right now for 100, you'd be cool with that.
The timing's weird, but that's like as rich as I'll go right now. I would not go beyond that right now. I would want him to prove things this season. I don't feel like I disagree with the comment in chat. I don't feel like 4 years, $90 million is a low ball offer. I think that's kind of wild to say. Like, I love Sharp's upside, but if we're being real, what has he truly proven at the NBA level so far. Other than he can score 18 points per game on a still bad team while getting benched for defense and shooting 31% from three and being a great finisher, good mid-range shooter, but like question marks, right? And inconsistency. Like he hasn't truly proven anything to currently be offered like much more than that contract, in my opinion. I think he will prove it this year. I am high on him. And I think at the end of the year, yeah, you could look back at the body of work at the end of the year and say that was a low ball, and I'll agree with you. But right now, I got a Charlie horse. Damn. Ow.
Mustard.
Yeah. That was painful. Right now, Shaedon Sharpe is not proven enough to deserve much more than that. So I don't see how you can sit there and say that's a low ball offer. Like, you can sit here and say he's going to be a superstar, but we don't know that yet. And you don't pay somebody superstar money off the hope that maybe one day they can be that. Anyway, I need water. Damn.
All right.
Anyway, do you agree? Do you think 490 is a lowball offer?
Oh, I already said I don't think it's a low ball, but I understand, like, from Sharpe's perspective, thinking that number isn't what he wants or is expecting. I think both could be true. I don't think like Sharpe's like, oh, I'm gonna take the qualifying offer and get my butt out of here now since you offered me that. I don't think it's like that, but I do feel like he thinks he's going to be worth more than that.
I don't blame him for wanting to bet on himself. I think he should. But this is the year, like contract year 4. He has a great opportunity. This is the year I feel like kind of makes or breaks Shaedon Sharpe in a way, as in terms of like if he can reach his true upside. He needs to take another step forward this year, or else I think questions start to creep in just about like where he's going to land once he's done developing. Because if he doesn't take a step this year, like a true step, then I'm going to be less inclined to think that he takes a step the year after. Some players' progression are linear, but generally on average it will follow a bit of a linear trend. So I feel like this is the year. And this is why I start him. This is why I will be frustrated if Jeremy Grant starts opening night.
Yep.
Anyway, we'll answer questions in chat. If you have any, we'll read off comments in chat. If you guys have any comments that I want to read off. But yeah, we'll be live again tomorrow night with the post-game show. We got Steven. So what's up, Steven? Let's see what Steven has to say. Of course, Steven's comment, the first word is Simon's, Eric.
What's up, Steven? How you doing, man?
He says Simon's got 400. The landscape has changed, but anything less than that is a steal for Sharpe. It's risky, yes, but the upside is so high. 100 would be a steal. It's a steal if he takes a step forward, but in this scenario, you let him take a step forward. And he's going to bet on himself taking a step forward. Had Simon scored 20 points per game before he signed that contract?
I don't think so. I think he just had that breakout for a couple months or a month or something.
Yeah, because that was year 4. That was year 4. He averaged 17 a game in 29 minutes. That was basically a Shaedon Sharpe season from last year, right? Mm-hmm. Is what Simons did that year. So I feel like that Simons contract is right in line with about as high as I'd go right now for Shaedon Sharpe. The thing is, If it was you have to pay him $30 million right now or he walks, then I would pay him $30 million. But that's not the scenario. The scenario is you wait this season, see if he takes a step up. If he does, then you're a lot more comfortable paying him 30 or 35 million or whatever his play suggests he's worth. But you've seen guys like Josh Giddey last season had a fantastic season. I think a better season than Shane Sharp has had. He was phenomenal for the Bulls. And what did he get offered yearly in restricted free agency?
He signed 125, didn't he?
Yeah, I forget the 4-year, $100 million contract. So if Giddey, who was much better last year than Sharp has ever had a season, I think Sharp can be better than Giddey this year. But if you just look at what they've done, Josh Giddey last year, let me pull up his numbers. Giddey averaged 15 points per game, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. He's more of a playmaker, more of a point guard. But second half of the season, let me just go to splits post All-Star break. 21 points per game, 11 rebounds, 9 assists post All-Star break. It was a 19-game sample, so a small sample, but looked like a true star. Still only got $25 million. So I think that's kind of the limit. You can look at a contract like Simon's, look at a contract like Giddey's. I mean, Quentin Grimes, in Philadelphia, was a 20-point-per-game guy. He's the guy that got lowballed. So I think just with the market for restricted free agents, I don't think if you're the Blazers, you have to overpay now or view $25 million as a steal. Stephen Vaughn says, I would try to lock up Sharp and hope and pray he booms. Don't risk him having a breakout. This team needs Sharp to score this year. He'll get opportunities. What's the risk in him having a breakout? He's going to be a restricted free agent afterwards. And if anything, by being a restricted free agent, the Blazers can kind of control his cost a little bit, even if he does break out. I mean, Josh Giddey broke out last year, and look what happened with the Bulls. He still only signed for $25 million, even though his play post All-Star break suggested that he might be a max player.
Yeah, I think it's just the restricted free agency is a little wonky right now. And not many teams are biting on offering contracts to these players because, I mean, in most of these cases, it seemed like the team would have matched them, whatever the contract offer was. So, maybe there'd be some frustration there. But if he has a breakout season and the Blazers, make the play-in or the playoffs, and he's a big part of that, I definitely could see a team giving him a big offer sheet and kind of forcing our hand.
Yeah, but then you just match it. That's a good problem to have if you have to pay Sharp more because he truly breaks out. I'd rather have that issue than pay him $32 million and then you're stuck in maybe an Emmanuel Quickley situation where Emmanuel Quickley ain't worth that money. No, I think Sharp will be better than him, right? But we don't know exactly what Sharp's going to be at the end of the year. We don't exactly know yet. So with that in mind, it does make sense to wait on a contract, I think, for both parties, unless he's willing to take $25 million a year or less. I give him $25 million a year right now. Anything more than that, I want to see it. I want to see him prove it consistently. I want to see him take a big step forward this year. And if he doesn't, then he won't make more than $25 million anyway, and you're going to be fine. Contractually. That's why that's the line. Adam Smith says this year we need to determine if we go forward with Scoot, Sharp, or both. It's coming of age year. The only scenario where they don't figure that out is if they move Drew Holiday. I think, like this offseason, which I don't think they'll do. I think they want to see him play next to Dame. But if Drew Holiday's truly declining and takes a step back, maybe that calculation changes. I do wonder if you could see all four of those guards in sharp split time between the 2 and 3 next year. But it's just strange. It's just strange. I do think at the end of the day, that's what the season will come down to. It just sucks that Scoot isn't healthy to start it. I would hate, Eric, for the Blazers to, like, if both Scoot and Sharp take steps forward and are ready to, are like on the path to potentially becoming stars down the line, I would hate for the Blazers to move one of them simply because they have Dame Drew in the other. If they move one of them because they have Dame Drew and whichever one they keep, they need to move one of them purposefully to give that core a legitimate chance to make noise. It can't just be moving them for the sake of it. So they better be getting it back a better player than what Sharp or Scoot is if they trade him at the end of the year because they have Dame coming back because they have Drew Holiday. Yeah. Otherwise, you're mortgaging the future and you're not reaping enough of the benefit in the present. So, I don't know exactly what that looks like. The dream would be a Giannis trade, of course, but if it's not that, I don't know what it looks like, but it should be for a star. That's the only way. Otherwise, I think I don't really know what the resolution is. But I don't like moving one of those two guys if both of them look good this year. I don't like moving one of those guys just for the sake of convenience.
Can we get a Denny trade? No, we can't. Sorry.
Not happening. Trading for Giannis would complete the insanity of the last 9 months. There was a report today. I forget who it was from, but something I saw on Twitter. It was posted in our group chat, I think. Oh, yeah. This was per ESPN, so I don't know who at ESPN. This was a tweet by my guy, Legion Hoops. It said, Giannis and his agent have reportedly been reviewing which teams could realistically acquire him at the deadline per ESPN. The groundwork is being laid. Who has their picks? Who has their picks? Your Portland Trailblazers have 3 of their picks. Not all their picks, but we got 3 of them. We got young players and we got other picks. We got Orlando's pick. We got our own picks at some point once the Larry Nance Jr. trade finally is freaking finalized. So,
to be fair, though, it also said that New York was the only team he would consider going to this last summer.
Yeah, well, the tweet says teams, plural. Reviewing which teams could realistically acquire him at the deadline. So, Drew, Dame get to recruiting. That's why we signed Marjon Beauchamp. Another ex-teammate of Giannis's. That's why we're having him on the remix or whatever we're doing there. You know, there's just more recruitment power. Next thing you know, Chris Middleton's going to get bought out. And then he's going to be a Blazer. Beauchamp got waived today, I think Hacken tweeted. Well, I think it was signing him, then waiving him to have his rights for the G League.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. But...
Scoom says, lost me with that, LOL. What, you don't believe in the great theory of we're signing Marjon Beauchamp to our G League team to recruit Giannis? I think that's, I think that's a very logical and reasonable theory.
If, like, Drew and Dave and those guys were going to possibly convince him. Why wouldn't he have considered Portland this summer?
Maybe he did. You don't know what Giannis thinks.
Shams specifically said the only team he wanted to go to this summer was the New York Knicks. Okay. All right.
Dame's not healthy, man. He wants to play with a healthy Dame. All right. Yeah. So just wait.
Okay.
I am victory lapping when Giannis is wearing number 34 in Moda Center for the Portland Trailblazers. Also with the first game being tomorrow, I'm kind of testing chat's ability to pick up sarcasm and trolling. Because sometimes I feel like I can get away with trolling and people think it is serious. No, I actually do not think Marjon Beauchamp was signed to recruit Giannis. All right? Maybe I'm being sarcastic. Shams also said this is going to be the wildest offseason. So, what happened? I don't know what happened there. Other than he was trying to get people to buy in and follow him on Twitter. Adam Smith says, love hearing Dream and Tory. New possibilities of a world where Mariners win playoff games. Yeah, look at me, man. I don't know what's happening, but I like it. I'm like experiencing a fever dream right now. Like an elongated fever dream, and it's really cool.
Well, good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Anyway.
Are we, so Wednesday, Friday are the games? I'm assuming that means we're not doing a show Thursday, right? Or are you still?
No show Thursday. No, yeah. We're in post-game mode.
Yeah.
The only other Monday, Thursday stream that'll be at 9:30 is after the preseason. On Monday, October 20th, which we will do our preseason predictions. Okay.
That's our last off-season stream.
Wait, is there a World Series game being played that day? Hold on, let me check.
Why don't you get there first before you were...
Well, I'm just talking contingencies, okay? I'm just talking contingencies. ALCS Game 7, NLCS Game 6. Okay, so I mean, it would be at 9:30, so it would probably be after an ALCS Game 7. But, like, hypothetically, maybe we push it to Tuesday if there's... Well, no, the season starts Tuesday. Yeah. All right, we'll stream after that, if that happens. If the Mariners play an ALCS Game 7, we'll stream after that, and you guys will either have the happiest version of me you've ever seen or the most depressed version of me you've ever seen. So, either way. Either way, man. But yeah, I'm nervous about tomorrow. But with 4 baseball games tomorrow. There's 4 ALDS, NLDS. Every series is active tomorrow. We got Game 4s for the ALDS. We got Game 3s for the NLDS. If you want to get in on the action, use Sleeper. Use promo code Uprise. Great way to support the channel. You go to 100% match up to $100. But then also, if you just want to check out the app, try your hand at your first parlay ever, whatever you want to do, you can get a free $20 entry, no deposit needed. So, as I like to say, you can use code Uprise and get all the upside. None of the downside with that free $20 entry, no deposit needed. But then you also still get that 100% match up to $100. You can get in on baseball. You can get in on basketball. You can get in on football because it's that time of the year where we got all 3 active. It's a beautiful time of year, and you can make it an even more beautiful time of year by using Sleeper. You can download the app on Google Play Store or Apple Store and use that promo code to support the channel. Thank you to them for sponsoring us this year. Can't wait to do some fun predictions and daily fantasy stuff with them this season. Anyway, answer questions for about 5 more minutes and then we'll get out of here.
5 more minutes.
See, Eric doesn't want to talk to you guys, man. I don't know, man. He doesn't want to talk to you.
You said that like 30 minutes ago.
I said like 15 minutes, 30 minutes ago, so now it's 5 minutes. That's how time works. Anyway. I mean, you can go if you want to. I am not holding you hostage this stream, okay? But nah, we'll get out of here. Leave a like, subscribe. Appreciate you guys tuning in, especially for a random Tuesday live stream because we did stream last night. So appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Hopefully you can catch us tomorrow for the postgame show after the Blazers take on the Warriors. We'll see what they look like in preseason. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night. Don't worry.
I'm not worried. Not worried. I just like to talk. I just like to talk to the people, man.
Since when?
Since the last 6 years, I like to talk to the people. So yeah, tune in tomorrow night. Subscribe, join our Discord, follow us on Twitter. Links in the description for all that stuff. Check out Sleeper, promo code Uprise, all that good stuff. Shout out to Muvsy for donating earlier. Appreciate you, Muvsy, as always. And hopefully the Mariners win tomorrow, man. Hopefully they win tomorrow. Fingers crossed. I'm going to be nervous as hell. I already am nervous as hell. It sucks ending a game and then 12 p.m. the next day. Like, give me time to just soak and enjoy this. I want to soak in it. But no, we're right back at it at freaking 12 on a Wednesday because their schedule is stupid. Their schedule is stupid. I hate their schedule.
Wow, Mubsy says let's go Jays.
He's Canadian, so,
yeah,
you know. But he's a bandwagon fan. He admitted he's a bandwagon fan, so yeah.
Is he going to say that against the Mariners?
I don't know, man, but I might not be able to talk to him if we play, if the Mariners play the Blue Jays, because if that happens, the Mariners need to geo-lock their ticket sales as well, because Blue Jays fans infest our stadium.
Yep.
So they need to geo-lock those tickets. USA only. USA only, because we can't be having that. Can't be having that. Anyway. Anything else, Eric?
Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoy the preseason game tomorrow if you watch it, and I hope to see you afterwards to break it all down and talk about all the performances and what we liked and disliked from the game. Hope to see you there. Have a good night.
Yep, we'll see what my voice sounds like tomorrow night after the Blazers take on the Warriors. Enjoy the preseason game. We are out of here. Until next time. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.